Following the halt in weapon deliveries, Ukraine faces another challenge with the rising scale of Russian airstrikes. Recent data shows a massive increase in the frequency and intensity of these strikes. According to the Financial Times, Russia now has the capability to launch as many drones in a single day as it did in an entire month a year ago. This not only amplifies the threat, but also puts immense pressure on Ukraine's already strained defenses.
The impact on Ukrainian civilians is grave. According to a report from the UN, nearly 1,000 civilians lost their lives in the first half of 2025, with over 4,800 more injured. This is a 37% increase compared to the previous year. Such statistics bring to mind the Russian tactics in Syria, where indiscriminate bombings claimed thousands of civilian lives. The repetition of these strategies in Ukraine is a harrowing reality the world cannot ignore.
Ukraine's survival heavily depends on its air defense systems. Historically, the arrival of Patriot systems in April 2023 provided significant relief, offering some protection against relentless aerial assaults. However, as Russian attacks grow in scale, maintaining effective air defense becomes even more critical. With newer systems like the Patriot system, Ukraine managed to shield its major cities, but the need for consistent support is crucial.
The Trump administration had a chance to reinforce Ukraine's defense at the recent NATO summit, but it was a missed opportunity. Instead of securing further weapon deals, the focus remained elsewhere, leaving Ukraine in a vulnerable position. The reliance on hoped-for deals leaves much uncertainty and risk, particularly when these opportunities are not seized. This uncertainty about future support only adds to the emotional and strategic strain on Ukraine's leaders and its people.
So, as we were talking about the strains on Ukraine's defenses and civilian toll due to increased Russian airstrikes, it's critical to address the recent halt in U.S. weapon deliveries. The weapons included in this unexpected freeze covered important defensive stocks like the Stinger systems and the PAC-3 interceptors, which are crucial for Ukraine's air defenses. What really shook everyone was the fact that these holds happened without any prior warning given to Ukraine.
Absolutely, and the reaction from the Kremlin was notably smug. Dmitry Peskov, the Kremlin spokesperson, stated that the fewer weapons Ukraine receives, the sooner the conflict will end. It seems like they saw this stoppage as a win. But looking at the situation from the U.S. perspective, this sudden freeze ties back to concerns about American stock levels. There were already whispers back in February, highlighted by a memo from the Pentagon, suggesting this halt could happen due to dwindling stockpiles.
This move to redirect resources has a lot to do with the U.S.'s strategic shift towards the Middle East. It's concerning, especially when it leads to specific shortages in Ukraine's defense, like fewer artillery rounds and precision ammunition. These are not just minor shortages, they're vital tools for Ukraine's ongoing defense against Russian attacks. When much-needed resources are rerouted, it reflects a broader priority shift that might leave Ukraine vulnerable against growing Russian offensives.
And when you look at future risks, another layer is added by the geopolitical focus on China. Here you have this tension between Congress, which earmarked funds and weapons for Ukraine, and the Trump administration, which seems to be reallocating focus. This tug of war doesn't just affect military strategy. It raises questions about commitments to Ukrainian defense and whether secondary priorities might undermine current support programs.
It's crucial to understand the Trump administration's broad geopolitical strategy, especially its dealings with Russia. We've seen moves like pushing for Russia's return to the G7 and granting tariff exemptions. Some people see these actions as attempts to appease Moscow and possibly reset relations. However, this strategy raises many questions, especially concerning allies who view Russia as a threat. Balancing these relationships is difficult.
On the other hand, if we compare this with the Biden administration's approach, it's markedly different. Under Biden, there were more sanctions, aimed clearly at hindering Russia's military capabilities. The constant pressure from sanctions was a key part of his strategy. This contrast is stark when we see Trump's team hasn't added any new entities to the sanction list. It makes one wonder how effective the current strategy really is.
Speaking of sanctions, the Graham and Blumenthal Senate bill is a significant step from Congress. This bill aims to impose heavy tariffs on any nation indirectly supporting Russia's war efforts. It's a strong message of disapproval towards any collaboration with Moscow. but the White House has resisted pushing it forward. This reluctance highlights the disconnect we sometimes see between different branches of government.
Then there's the missed opportunity for negotiation with Russia. Trump once hoped for a ceasefire, yet it evaporated quickly. The dynamics between him and leaders, such as Netanyahu, show the broader challenges in his diplomatic strategy. It often seemed like there were many moving parts, but the key players weren't always on the same page. This coordination is vital, especially when dealing with complex global threats.
As we continue this discussion, the impact of halted weapons deliveries to Ukraine becomes clearer. The sudden freeze not only sets back military strategies, but also signifies a critical juncture in this ongoing conflict. Tom Caraco from the CSIS points out that while air defense won't win the war, its absence can lead to a quick defeat. The sentiment encapsulates the dire situation Ukraine faces, with its defense systems hanging by a thread.
This stoppage means immediate consequences for Ukraine's air defense capabilities. The halt is not just a strategic setback. On a human level, it leaves civilians more vulnerable, increasing potential casualties. Communities once relying on some level of protection now face an arduous reality. Ukrainian lives hang in the balance, their safety uncertain as the threat from above intensifies, painting a stark picture of war's toll on everyday lives.
Long-term, these halted deliveries have far-reaching effects. This situation reflects a critical point in the conflict, where the lack of proper defense might dictate the course of events. Damage extends beyond defense. Healthcare facilities are under threat, crucial infrastructure slowly crumbling. The ongoing conflict puts a strain on hospital resources, echoing heartbreak and desperation as medical centers struggle to function amidst chaos.
It's crucial to reflect on past Russian actions, like the hospital bombings in Syria. Those tactics, unfortunately, seem to be repeating in Ukraine, illustrating a cycle of violence that devastates regions. The parallels are deeply concerning. As we see hospitals, symbols of hope and care, becoming targets, the narrative forms around a grim reality. History seems doomed to repeat itself, and the human cost continues to escalate.
Now shifting our focus to the Rwanda DRC peace deal, things look quite complex over there. The M23 rebel group, which has been causing disruptions, was not even part of the peace talks, and as a result, their actions continue to stir tension in the region. From taking control of strategic cities to pushing their agenda, the M23 poses a significant challenge to peace in the Congo.
Yes, the exclusion of M23 from the June 27th peace deal leads to some critical issues. Rwanda and DRC signed an agreement that appears promising on the surface, but without M23's involvement, its effectiveness comes into question. M23 has not committed to returning the cities they occupy or ceasing hostilities. This raises concerns about the durability and sincerity of this peace deal.
Rwanda's role in this complex puzzle is intriguing. They have been suspected of supporting the M23 rebels, yet control over them is not entirely certain. Proxy warfare adds complexity, where alliances can shift quickly. Rwanda's inability or unwillingness to fully rein in M23 complicates efforts to broker meaningful peace. The relations are fraught with uncertainties that could unravel the peace talks.
The mineral resources in this region are like a double-edged sword. While these minerals drive economic interests, they also fuel conflict, as various groups vie for control. This dynamic impacts stability and complicates peace efforts further. For future peace talks to succeed, both Rwanda and DRC might need to address these underlying economic drivers of conflict. It's an intersection of resources and geopolitics that demands careful handling.
Throughout numerous attempts at peace, much of Central Africa has been troubled by unstable agreements and fragile truces. The history of peace deals here is complex, often driven by hidden agendas and external influences. In many cases, the peace deals couldn't hold because the root issues weren't fully addressed. These factors make one wonder if current efforts, especially with M23 having such a strong foothold, can truly bring lasting peace to the region.
Joseph Kabila's unexpected return adds another layer of complexity to an already tense situation. With Kabila having strong support in certain areas, his presence might embolden elements looking to disrupt the current status. It seems like any potential alliance between Kabila and M23 could be strategically important. Such an alliance would likely change the power dynamics and influence the future decisions of both regional and international bodies.
In Washington, there's growing skepticism around U.S. involvement with the region. Many in Congress argue that recent peace agreements might favor larger geopolitical agendas rather than real local peace. They view certain negotiations as betrayals, prioritizing political gains over human lives. It prompts questions about the true motivating factors behind these decisions. Is it genuine support for peace, or does it align more with broader international strategies?
While some hold on to cautious optimism, believing that engagement can slowly lead to improvements, the harsh realities on the ground paint a grim picture. With ongoing tensions and unresolved issues, it remains a challenge to foresee a stable future. The paths to peace are fraught with obstacles, and without addressing deep-seated issues, the hope for lasting resolution is uncertain. The situation demands our continued attention and vigilance. These stories remind us of the human impact behind the geopolitical chessboard. For Ukraine and the DRC, the road ahead is complex and filled with challenges. We encourage you to think deeply about these global issues. Please engage further with us, subscribe for more insights, and leave your comments to keep the conversation going. Until next time, thank you for joining us.